Welcome to replay session of live webinar, The Aftermarket in Asia Pacific Through Turbulent Times with a Steady Hand, hosted by TecAlliance and Motivus, held on Thursday, 15th May 2025. Let meet Gwen de Calan, Director TecAlliance Indonesia, and Keith Power, Managing Partner of Motivus Coaching.
So, welcome everyone to today's webinar. Today is a special session. I've got the pleasure to be with Keith Power. So Keith is a former senior leader in the aftermarket, but also an executive coach. And he will be part of this webinar. We are going to split this webinar into two parts. I'll start with an overview of the aftermarket situation in Asia Pacific. And then Keith, based on his experience, his coaching skills, will give you some advice and his views on how to manage through these difficult times and how to successfully run your aftermarket business here. You are all muted for the time being, but you have the possibility to write us some questions through the questions box here as part of this the GoToWebinar interface here. We'll take the questions as they come. We want to keep this session a bit interactive, so don't hesitate if there is any point you want to discuss here. At the end of the webinar, we may also unmute you if you want to speak directly with us. So that's it. So we are going to start now. If we talk about the automotive industry in Asia Pacific, what's impressive is, of course, the weight, and the size that the aftermarket, the automotive industry has grown into in Asia Pacific. If we compare with a few years ago, and we now see this picture, more than 60% of passenger cars in the world are produced in our region in Asia. So you can see about 1/3 of them in China, but also 25% in the rest of APAC. And now the world seems clearly divided in 4 regions. So we've got China, the rest of Asia Pacific, I would say the Americas, and EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And what is important, Asia is not only the production hub of the automotive industry, it also has become the main market. More than half of the cars sold last year were sold in Asia. So a lot of people, analysts, are looking at that. And when we talk about our business, everybody's thinking, okay, it's now so big, it's huge. The aftermarket business must be also huge. But for many of you in this call, we face the challenge that while we know that the automotive industry has grown so big in Asia, somehow the business, especially the independent aftermarket business, since the COVID period, is really struggling. So none of the Asia Pacific countries have really recovered from this COVID phase. And that's a bit the paradox that we're going to discuss today, is that on one hand, this huge potential of automotive in Asia, and on the other hand, the current situation of the aftermarket, especially the EAM, which is very challenging, and how to manage expectations, and why are we in this situation, and how to lead in this kind of situation, how to manage your teams. So that's what we'll discuss in the next 40 minutes together with Keith. So I'll start with the basics. So when we talk about aftermarket, the basic is the car park. So where are the cars? How many cars do we have in Asia Pacific? We just saw we have a very big production. We also have a big number of sales. The majority of car sales are now happening in Asia. But if we look at the car park, it also has already become the largest car park in the world. Yeah, so we have over 300 million cars in China, and about 215 million in the rest of Asia Pacific. And what is more important is the growth potential for the coming years remains very high. Yeah, so compared with other regions of the world, yeah, Asia has not reached yet its full potential. So we have a very mature market where there is no growth anymore, like Europe or Americas. But Asia Pacific still has a huge potential moving ahead. Yeah. There's no other region in the world that has gone through such a strong growth of a car park in the past 10 years. Yeah. So on average, on a yearly average, the car park in Asia grew by nearly 10% a year over the past few years, which is huge. Yeah. As you can see in this graph, of course, China here in green played a very important role, yeah, as I would say, an engine in the Asia region, yeah. But we also saw quite impressive growth in India, for example, which is in dark blue, and in the ASEAN region, yeah. And there is also still a high growth potential in those two geographic regions, yeah. So when we have such a strong growth of a car park, most people would expect the aftermarket to follow a little bit this growth. Yeah, of course, in the aftermarket, this kind of car park growth gives you a very strong, I would say, backwind. Yeah, so normally the car park raised by nearly 10% every year. Your aftermarket business should also nearly automatically grow double digit. But what we see since a few years, for most of you, it's not the case. Yeah, and I know, for example, in Indonesia, many parts manufacturers were just struggling last year to stay flat. Yeah, and to reach even 0% growth. Yeah, it's been a challenge. So why? So how can we explain this paradox and the situation we are in? The first explanation is, of course, that the global environment since a few years is really unstable. Okay, so inflation has been very high since the COVID, yeah, and remains quite high in most Asian countries. Actually, inflation is the number one source of worry when we survey car drivers in Southeast Asia, for example. But in many Asian countries, it's really a big concern. Yeah, the price increase, especially in the automotive industry. In addition, the currency fluctuation, we have a high instability of the currencies. In the case, if I look at Southeast Asia, since a few months, it's been really challenging. Yeah. So if you're bringing in goods, yeah, from other regions of the world, which is typically what we are doing in the aftermarket, yeah. So if you need to build your complete product range, usually you're bringing product from different factories around the world. This fluctuation is really a challenge. Yeah. In addition, there are other sorts of instabilities that we see. Yeah, climate change. We saw these huge fires, for example, in South Korea a few months ago. Of course, the conflicts, yeah, between Russia and Ukraine, but also in other regions of the world, even in Asia, like in Myanmar, are a source of instability. Trade conflict recently have been a huge issue, and at the end of the day, all of this has led to a lot of I would say logistic or value chain disruption. Yeah? And this is a big issue in the aftermarket, because the core of the aftermarket business is basically bringing the right part or the right component to the right place at the right time. Yeah. So logistic is really a core element in our business, and this has been disrupted or unstable since several years. Yeah. In addition, so these are global, I would say, factors, but there are also specificities regarding the aftermarket in the region, especially the independent aftermarket. Yeah. The first specificity, very often people look at the size of the car park, the numbers of cars, 50 million in India, 20 million in Indonesia, it sounds very big. Yeah? But a very important factor to take into consideration when you compare different countries is also the diversity of the car park. Yeah? Many Asian countries are characterized by low car park diversity. What do I mean by that? If you go to India, if you go to Indonesia, if you go to some parts of Thailand, very often you always see the same car. Yeah. So there is a low car park diversity. Yeah. So in India, for example, you always see this Suzuki Maruti Wagonaire everywhere. Okay. If you're walking the streets of Jakarta, you always see the same Toyota Avanza. Yeah. And this low car park diversity is a challenge for in the aftermarket. It means everybody is fighting for the same spare parts for the same vehicle. Yeah? So it means high competition, a few references covering a large proportion of the market, and that makes the aftermarket business quite tough. Yeah? This low car park diversity is also very favorable to the car manufacturers who are dominating the car park. Yeah? So when you are Suzuki Maruti in India, but nearly 40% of the car are from your brand, of course, you're in a very strong position also in the aftermarket. And generally in Asia, if we compare with other regions of the world there, especially Europe, EMEA, but also the Americas, due to this low car park diversity, we are in an aftermarket that has been dominated largely by the car manufacturers. Yeah. Another reason is in many markets in Asia, like China, we still have a car park that is relatively young. Yeah, so that where typically these recent cars are going back to the dealerships. Yeah. One additional factor is that in this region, independent players, independent workshops, historically, there are a few exceptions, of course, like maybe Malaysia, but historically the EAM sector has been relatively weak compared with the OE aftermarket. Yeah? So a lot of survey we do in the region very often show that there is a lack of trust of independent garages in many Asian countries. Yeah? So we don't know what kind of parts they're going to use on your car, if they have the proper equipment, if they have the proper training, and so on. In addition, since a few years, we have some additional factors that have led to a slowdown of the business. Yeah. The first one, in most countries, since a few years, we see a drop in the new car registration. So the car park is still growing, but slower than it used to be. Yeah. So here on your screen, you can see the example of Indonesia. As you can see, the country, for example, has never so far recovered from COVID. Yeah? So the number of new car registration is still far away from the million bar we used to hit before the COVID area. Yeah? One of the reasons is inflation. Yeah? The slowdown of the economy, where people are holding to their money and maybe keeping their existing car a little bit longer than just buying a new one. Another important factor, a lot of the business in the aftermarket depend on how much people drive their car. Yeah, if you are selling lubricants, if you're selling filters, if you're selling brakes, yeah, the more people use their car, the more they are going to use these products. Yeah, what do we see since COVID? We see an increasing number of people working from home. Okay. And a drop in the car usage, in the annual kilometers driven. Yeah. If I take Indonesia again as an example, we saw a drop between the pre-COVID and post-COVID area of 7%. So that's quite big. Yeah. So this definitely has also a big impact for several products in the aftermarket. One last maybe specificity of this corner of the world is that the legislative framework is not really favorable to the independent aftermarket. Yeah, so there's no how can I say, to give you a few examples. For example, there is no periodic test inspection, PTI, in many Asian countries. Yeah, normally when cars get older, you must check them, make sure they are safe, that the emissions of the cars are okay. In many Asian countries, this is still not implemented. And this, for example, is a big source of business. If you look at Europe or the Americas, and it's only in a few Asian countries that we have this kind of legislation in place. Yeah, but there are many other examples. Yeah, there are some countries where car insurance is still not compulsory in Asia, and generally everything related to the right to repair, access to technical information, access to training for independent players is not as well supported or politically protected in Asia than it is in other regions of the world. Here I'm thinking not only about Europe, the US, but also, for example, Australia. Yeah. That said, I mean, there are still a lot of reason to stay optimistic. Yeah. First, this problem with the low diversity, it's evolving. Yeah, we see in all the Asian markets that the car park is starting to diversify. Yeah, new players, especially the Chinese OEMs, are coming in. We have seen a lot of success of Korean car manufacturers also. So slowly the car park is starting to diversify, which is good for the independent aftermarket. We also see a strong trend that the car park is starting to age in many Asian countries. Yeah, if I look at Indonesia, we are now above 10 years on average age of the passenger cars. Yeah, and this is of course favorable to the independent aftermarket. So if you're in this business, I would say time is on your side. Yeah, in the coming years, mechanically, yeah, due to this aging car park, due to the fact that EIM will always be somehow cheaper than OES, going to an independent will always be cheaper than going to a dealership, the EIM business should increase. We also mustn't forget that even if the car park growth is a bit slower than before, we still have growth in Asia and growth potential, yeah, which is not the case, for example, in mature countries. Yeah. Finally, maybe three last points. Yeah, independent players through workshop concepts are starting to become more professional. Here on this picture, you can see an example of Be Quick, which is a workshop chain quite successfully starting its business in Indonesia after establishing itself in Thailand. Slowly, digitization is starting in the aftermarket, which is a way to increase productivity and work more efficiently, also for independent players. And electrification might also be an opportunity for the independent aftermarket, because we know that all the new EV manufacturers won't be able to build complete networks of dealerships within a short period of time. So these new EVs may well have to be maintained in independent workshops. So these are the opportunities. Now, how to grab them? Okay, how to manage, steer your business through the current troubled times, yeah, to try to reach these opportunities. I think Keith will insist on this, but for me, what is key is the clarity of your understanding of the market and the clarity of your strategy. Yeah, a strategy that is not only based on your instinct and your experience, on your intuition, which play an important role, but also based on facts, you know, and data. Yeah, in a complex environment, having robust data, robust facts can greatly help you to shape your company strategy. And here, TecAlliance can support you. I would say starting with the basics, you know, knowing the car park. Yeah. So for most Asian countries, we can provide you a very detailed split of a car population by brand, model, type, and so on, down to a K-type level. Yeah. For many Asian countries like Indonesia, but also India or China, we even have the split of a car park by province to help you adjust maybe your sales target or adjust your stock depending on the car population in each province. Very important in this region of the world, if we talk about aftermarket, as I said, the OEMs are quite dominant, and all the players always use the genuine part usually as a reference. Yeah, when they are looking for parts, the reference is very often the OE number, which is not the case, for example, in other parts of the world. Yeah, it means the mapping of your range, if you're an aftermarket player, with the OE genuine parts range must be excellent. Yeah, and here TecAlliance can help you do this mapping, but more importantly, maintain it over time based on the new applications that are coming in the market. Yeah. The third, I would say, basic in your marketing mix is to know your coverage. Yeah. So if I'm selling filters in Thailand, what's my coverage of the car park? How do I benchmark against my competitors? For this, again, we have specific tools called TecPMA, specific reports to help you assess your coverage and also improve it. Yeah. Maybe the three box in the below part, and that would be a bit my conclusion. Very important for me is also using modern market research tool. Very often I see some reluctance when we talk about market research in Asia. Quite often the manager will say, I know the market, okay? Or it's too expensive to do market research. Based on my experience, very often aftermarket managers know the market, but they know the market from the past point of view. They know the market, how was the market yesterday or a few years ago. Yeah. Few of them really know how is it today, and none of them know how it's going to be tomorrow. Yeah. Good market research can help you identify the current trends and anticipate, give you a head start against your competitors for what's going to happen in the next 6 months or 1 year. Yeah. So here TecAlliance has established partnerships with two companies, GPA, which is specialized in business intelligence and market research, and Oikon. Yeah. So we can support you for market research activity. Oikon is more specialized in price studies. If you are looking at the pricing management of your range through these two partners. Generally, as you know, TecAlliance is specialized in digital solutions, helping you to put your catalog, your parts catalog, or your parts offering online, helping you to develop e-commerce solution. So also for your digital strategy, which is increasingly playing an important role in the aftermarket, we can support you. So you've got my contacts here. We also have a dedicated WhatsApp, so business WhatsApp group for TecAlliance Asia Pacific, but you can scan here. And now I would like to hand over to Keith to talk more about how to manage. Yeah. So as I said, Keith has had many years of experience as a senior leader in this industry. He knows the pressure, he knows the pace and the potential of the aftermarket, and today is here to help you to unlock your own potential.
Thank you, Gwen. I'd just like to add one thing as an outside observer now, 6 years retired from corporate aftermarket, and that is these miles driven that you spoke about. Please don't forget, for 2 years, the wheels almost came to a standstill. It's taken time to recover, but just as importantly, those cars and their parts are not as worn and not as old. So there is bound to be a lag, a gap. But the good news is that that will clear through the system. And once the tap turns back on, you'll be back into full flow again. I always believe in seeing the glass half full rather than half empty. And I would just like to, as an ex-senior leader in this region, reiterate what Gwen said. What's vital in order to navigate tough times is excellent data. Having really up-to-date data, not your gut feel, but real data, which shows not where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going. So just adding to that before I get into mine. So I'm talking today about from surviving, which some of you are doing right now, into thriving. And we can dream that. For me, there was a moment in my own leadership career, somewhere between my 4th country move and perhaps my 15th consecutive quarter of double-digit growth, when I realized I wasn't leading anymore. I was just surviving, reacting, exhausted, but on paper, everything looked perfect. My numbers were up, team was performing, bosses were happy, but I was quietly burning out. Next slide, please, Gwen. So for those who don't know me, hi, I'm Keith Power. Over the past 20 years, I've led multi-million-dollar businesses across countries as diverse as Poland, China, India, Australia, the UK, and Southeast Asia, delivering business turnarounds, acquisitions, and growth plans, managing cross-cultural teams, innovation, and, as all of you know, always under pressure. But here's the truth most leaders won't say out loud. It's entirely possible to look like you're thriving while actually running on fumes, nearly on empty. This masterclass today is about breaking that cycle. It's about helping you shift subtly but powerfully from surviving to truly leading. So let's start with what survivor mode looks like. As you can see in the slide here, because it's not just panic or burnout, it's far more subtle. Survival mode is when you're firefighting instead of forward planning. You avoid difficult conversations, especially with your boss, because you're already running on empty. You feel exhausted, but you can't slow down. And this one, I'm sure, will resonate. You say yes to everything because saying no feels like failure. I remember leading a multi-country operation for an American multinational who will remain nameless, on track, high performing, but I was working from fear. Fear of missing the monthly and quarterly numbers. Fear of letting people down. Fear of being found out. Yes, we all suffer from imposter syndrome sometimes. I wasn't leading from belief in success. I was operating from fear of failure. I'd become incredibly efficient at surviving, but growth, innovation, vision, these were slipping away. So what's the difference? Move on. Leading is different. It's not about reacting. It's about actively choosing. Great leaders create clarity, not just direction. They empower others instead of solving everything themselves. They delegate with trust, not from panic. And really importantly, they operate in a growth mindset, which is why I'm pleased that Gwen finished on the growth part, the opportunity part, because it is still there. This is still the best region in the world for an automotive aftermarket future. One of the biggest shifts in my own career came when I stopped trying to be the hero, the one who had every answer, and started building others to lead. That's a long time ago now, as you can see, but it still resonates to this day. That one change didn't just improve performance, it built a leadership pipeline that kept growing after I left. That's the power of moving from control to leadership. So here's what I coach senior leaders on every week. 3 simple mindset mindset shifts even, that changed everything for me, and they might do for you too. Number one, moving from reaction. We all tend to react instead of taking a breath and reflect instead. Build some time into your schedule, put it in your calendar, actually lock out that time, not just to do, but to think. It's so important to have time to think and to reflect rather than just waiting for things to cross your desk and reacting to it. What's working? What's not working? Where are you leading reactively? Look at yourself. Where did you just react to something instead of thinking, strategizing? And then the second point, moving from control to coaching. Yes, you can be a coach with your team. Ask better questions. Don't give them the answers. Ask them questions. Empower your team to solve the right problems. Stop giving all the answers. It's exhausting and it's ineffective. There's just you. You have a team. Tap into them. And then from this one, I had the most difficulty with, moving from proving to growing. Let go of your constant need to justify yourself, justify your role to head office. Don't think in that mindset. The most powerful leaders I've coached know this. You grow others by growing yourself first. Let me ask you a question. Right now, which of these shifts feels the most relevant to you? That's not just a question to hang in the air. If you've got a pen and paper or you're typing on something, jot it down or drop it in the chat if you want. So which of these three do you think is most relevant to you in terms of getting your mindset shift, especially in these challenging times? Start there. Now, the next slide, I'll warn in advance, it's a short video, and I want you to see and listen. The sound quality might not be amazing. If it's not, please watch the screen. There are titles there, and we've got all your contact details. Please drop a note in the chat or in the questions, and we can send you this, the actual one, later. And this is from a podcast that I started on March the 8th called The Power Within. My name's Keith Power, so I stole the name. It was mine before Tony Robbins ever stole my name, okay? This was episode 3. We've got 5 episodes out there. The 6th one drops tomorrow. It comes out every 2 weeks, and it focuses on leadership and personal development. This particular episode was Riaz Mehta. Riaz is, I call him a media entrepreneur, but his mindset is so amazing. He just does not accept that there is such a thing as failure. For him, if you fail at something, you're still on your road towards your success, and you've just had a lesson, a learning. It's a great mindset to have, because if you feel like you've failed, you stop moving forward, you start questioning yourself. So it wasn't a failure, like, okay, what was that? What's the lesson I can learn? How can I improve? How can I be better? So listen to Riaz if you can on mindset. And I think it's such an important message I'll share with you later.
About believing in your heart, in your vision that you have. There's always a way. That there will be dark times. There'll be times that you think, oh my God, this is the end. It's never the end. As long as you're breathing, it's not the end. You got to believe that you will find a way. And then as long as you keep believing that, and you keep trying everything that you have with every cell of your body, you will succeed. Success is assured. In my books, failure is not an option. sure there will be things that will appear to be failures, but they're just lessons in the journey that success is sure. And you've got to have that mindset.
This mindset thing, you need to read up on Riaz. He's an amazing guy. He comes from an IT background, and he decided one day, over a glass of wine, I'm going to become a TV producer. So he just did, and he became an Emmy-nominated TV producer with 4 different formats. One of them was called The Apartment, 7 successful series right across Asia. His latest one is only in America right now, and it's called Crypto Nights. It's a bit like Dragon's Den, but for crypto. And the twist on it is the audience watching can invest in the crypto in those people who are pitching. The guy's creative mind is amazing, but more importantly, his mindset of never giving up and always learning from the lessons on the way. So I want to challenge you guys now. What if this year, this month, this week, you stopped leading from urgency, which I guarantee you all are right now, but instead started leading from vision? What if your greatest contribution isn't hitting targets, but building something and someone that lasts beyond you? Try this simple action this week. In fact, don't do it this week. Do it now. Do it today. Write down your leadership vision in 1 sentence. Share it with a colleague or someone else you respect at work, and ask yourself, what needs to shift in how I lead to make that vision real? Friends, you don't have to stay stuck in survival mode. Trust me, I've been there. And I've coached dozens of high-performing, high-pressure leaders out of it. Growth is possible, and it usually comes with 1 small step. If today resonated with you, if you want to lead with clarity, resilience, and impact, let's have a conversation. I offer both personalized one-to-one coaching and leadership programs for teams ready to grow strategically and sustainably. Let's stop surviving. Let's start leading with purpose. And I will mention the companies I worked for now. My last role, I was President Asia Pacific for Federal Mogul, as it was then, which became Tenneco, which is Drive. Is a constantly changing environment, so most of you will recognize that. You would have worked it out anyway. So you can see on there my contact details. Please feel free. In all honesty, today is Gwen's show, and I jumped in as a sort of a side jockey. But you can use your phone to take the QR code down there to see the power within and see if something resonates there. And my contact details are on there as well. Please, I want to leave you with this one thing. There's 3 types of people, and I'm going to swear for those of you who want to cover your ears. There's those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that wonder what the fuck happened. Don't be the last type. Be the guy or girl who makes things happen. Get your vision, get your strategy, get your thinking time, get your planning and plan the future, not just surviving today. Thank you everybody for your attention, and I'll hand back to Gwen.
Thanks a lot, Keith. It's been great having you coaching us today. We've got a few minutes left. If there are some questions among the attendees, don't even hesitate to drop them. You can also raise your hand if you want to ask something to Keith or myself. After webinar, I'll be in touch with you anyway. You'll receive presentations we've done today, where you have both my contacts and Keith contacts. Yeah, and of course you can reach out to us anytime. Yeah. I don't see any questions, so we are going to leave you a few more minutes. Otherwise, we can be in touch, of course, separately. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Within TecAlliance, we organize quite often this type of event. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. You had my business WhatsApp contacts and my personal contacts if you're interested in such aftermarket events. Yeah. Usually once a year in all the key Asian markets, we organize a TecAlliance event. And as I said, several times a year, we have webinars on different topics, the export markets, the different Asian markets, and how to enter them. Today was a special session with Keith, focusing a little bit more on the managing and the pressure on the current situation, as I know many of you are facing challenges this year to reach your target. So it's always good to have someone giving you maybe a new perspective on how to run your business, how to manage, and how to get things done. Yeah. I don't see any question, so I think we can leave it there for today. Thanks a lot. There were many of you interested in this webinar. We had a high number of registration. I could see we had over 30 participants today. It's been a pleasure for both Keith and myself, and we'll be in touch with you pretty soon. Yeah. Have a great day, everybody, and take care. Yeah? Bye.
Thanks, Gwen. Bye, everybody.
Thank you to everyone who joined us today. Please stay tuned for future webinars and don't hesitate to reach out to our team if you'd like to know more about how we can support your business. Just contact us. Thank you.